Welcome to the Alaska Weather Show. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, and it is Friday, April 23rd, 2021. The weekend is upon us, and if you'd like to get weather forecast by telephone, you can call up 1-800-472-0391 or go online to weather.gov/Alaska. Well, we've certainly had a remarkable stretch of weather here for the interior parts of the state here this week as high pressure has been firmly in control. And we continue to watch the river breakup situation. With the warmer temperatures, we are beginning to see some openings develop in the ice along the rivers, especially south of the Yukon River Basin. And this includes the Tanana as well as the Nenana rivers, and also down there, the upper Kuskokwim is starting to see some openings, especially around Nikolai. And this trend will continue here as we go through the weekend with the warmer afternoon temperatures in the 50s to even lower 60s. But at least at night we get the temperatures drop back down to around or below freezing, so that keeps the melting, then it stops it for the time being. But we'll continue to monitor the situation. Another thing to pass along, we continue to have aerial flood warning in effect for the Anchor River on the south end of the Kenai Peninsula, and that'll continue in effect so long as there's been an ice jam that's formed downstream of the old Sterling Bridge. So again, we have an aerial flood warning that continues in effect for the Anchor River there on the southern part of the Kenai Peninsula. But otherwise, we do need your help. And if you are along one of these especially remote river locations, we need your reports, or some pictures and videos are great, whether you're on the ground or perhaps in the air flying. You can submit your reports to nws.ar@aprfc@noaa.gov, or you can call and speak with one of our hydrologists at 1-800-847-1739. On the satellite imagery today, we have most prominent features a band of higher level clouds and a plume of moisture that extends out over the Gulf of Alaska and is coming onshore around Kodiak Island and up into the southwest. And beneath these higher level clouds that are showing up, we do have some rain showers, light rain showers impacting Kodiak Island and then the portions of the southwest. Also, if we take a look at things there, it's generally fair skies across the interior because high pressure has been in place now, and it's really given us outstanding weather this week that'll continue into the weekend. If we look off toward the northern Pacific, just south of the eastern Aleutians, you'll see an enhanced area of cloud cover, and that's another area of low pressure that's going to be tracking northeastward up through the eastern Aleutians on up into the Alaska Peninsula, bringing additional rain as we go through the course of the weekend. But right now, areas from around Anchorage northward through Fairbanks and northward, as well as southeastward toward Juneau, are really going to enjoy some fine weather here for this weekend. And we'll go through the sequence once more. You can see that plume of moisture coming in off of the Gulf of Alaska into southwest Alaska, and that more enhanced area of a little deeper moisture there south of Adak, there south of the central and eastern Aleutians. This morning, Juneau did tie a record low temperature at 25, and that happened because some colder, drier air came in down from Canada with the northerly flow they've had coming down the length of Lynn Canal that has brought in some colder and drier air, but it warms during the day back up near or a bit above normal. So that's kind of an interesting fact. They were able to tie a record low there. Otherwise, the interior is under firm control of high pressure, and as a result, temperatures that night do get below freezing, so that keeps the melting of the snow cover and ice, at least temporarily stops it until we see the temperatures warm in the day. And as we go into tonight, that low pressure system that's sitting just now out of the North Pacific is going to begin to lift northeastward across the eastern Aleutians, bringing an area of rain and quite a bit of IFR conditions for flying. But you can see high pressure still in place from far eastern Russia across northern half of the state into northwest Canada. And going on into Saturday, we are looking for that low pressure to be just sitting there over the eastern Aleutians, with high pressure still over the interior, and rain showers primarily as you get down through the western half of the Alaska Peninsula. And then on Sunday, still some fine weather across much of the state in the interior, but again, southwest peninsula through the eastern Aleutians will see periods of light rain or rain showers. Now, temperatures overnight tonight could be a bit below freezing, especially at Juneau, whereas we get up there into the southeast mainland, temperatures again also getting below freezing. And even in the Anchorage area and the Kenai Peninsula, temperatures will be down near just above freezing. During the day tomorrow, though, up to 62 at Talkeetna, about 55 or so in Anchorage. And temperatures across the southeast will generally be in the mid-50s to near 60 degrees for some fine weather, with quite a bit of sunshine, with the exception of as you get toward the southern end of the Kenai and especially down toward Kodiak Island. And temperatures Sunday morning will be down generally in the low mid-30s for coastal areas, but 20s as you get inland. And temperatures Sunday afternoon, very nice, 63 at Talkeetna, 54 Anchorage, and even extending toward Dillingham, looking at temperatures in the lower to mid-50s. As we go in the Arctic coast, lows will be down around 10 above, and also just generally the Yukon Valley on up toward the Alaska Range, lows will be down into the 20s. And then during the day on Saturday, highs get back up into the mid-50s to near 60 degrees along and south of the Yukon River. And along the coastal areas of the north, highs will stay below freezing, mainly in the 20s to around 30 degrees, back down to around 10 above along the Arctic coast Sunday morning, with temperatures getting back up Sunday afternoon into the 50s to lower 60s, again along and south of the Yukon River. And then going out across the southwest peninsula, we are looking for lows tonight below freezing interior locations. But as you get up along the coast, lows will generally remain several degrees above freezing in the mid-30s to near 40 degrees. And as we head through Saturday afternoon, McGrath being up to about 59, and we're looking at some areas still flirting with 60 degrees. And again, temperatures at night across the interior will generally get back down around or below freezing. Areas along the Aleutian and as we extend down the length of the peninsula will generally stay above freezing in the upper 30s. And then on Sunday afternoon, still fine temperatures in the mid-50s to lower 60s for interior areas, with highs in the 40s along the Aleutian chain. And taking a look at the extended outlook, this is from April 29th through May 1st. Temperatures will average a bit below normal across the interior, so that we'll tend to see a cooling trend in the next 6 to 10 days. And as far as precipitation goes, generally dry across the interior and southwest, but the southeast could start to see some precipitation returning here on Sunday. Rains will return to the southeast, with perhaps some heavier rainfall in the southeast as we go through Wednesday and Thursday of next week. So that does it for our show today. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful weekend, as springtime in Alaska is beautiful.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
It's time now for the aviation weather segment of the show, and in the flying weather for this weekend, high pressure continues to dominate the weather across the interior of Alaska into northwest Canada, creating visual flight rules for much of the interior of the state, especially the Anchorage area northward. We are watching low pressure, though, that's in the far North Pacific, lifting across the eastern Aleutians northeastward. That is creating a large area of IFR and some MVFR conditions that extend into the Alaska Peninsula and portions of the southwest. So going into Saturday afternoon, we see visual flight rules will be the case across much of the interior of the state into the southeast. But once you get out toward at least the western half of the Alaska Peninsula and through the Aleutians and the Bering Sea, IFR conditions. Sunday morning, more of the same, with a bit more of an intrusion of some IFR conditions coming up into the southwest and up through Kodiak Island. Meanwhile, the interior back through the southeast remains VFR, and overall statewide pretty good conditions with some beautiful early spring weather where you are fortunate enough to have some sunshine in those warmer afternoon temperatures before we are likely to experience a bit of a pattern change towards some cooler weather and some rainier conditions along especially the southeast coast as we go into the middle of next week. But in the meantime, Saturday, VFR conditions across much of the interior, including Anaktuvuk as well as Adigan passes, and as we drop south, Lake Clark and Merrill could see MVFR conditions, especially on the west entrances in the morning, and then VFR during the afternoon. And as we head north and kind of round up through the south end of the Alaska Range, we are looking for VFR conditions to prevail there as well at Rainy, Windy, Isabel, and Metasta passes. And Tanita will be VFR, as will Portage. And then finally, heading into the southeast, Chilkoot and White will also enjoy VFR conditions on Saturday. So with this big warm dome of high pressure over the center of the state, the freezing levels are quite a bit higher, above 8,000 feet in the interior there, especially in the central part of the Yukon Valley between the Alaska and the Brooks Ranges. And elsewhere we see a little higher freezing levels, upwards to 6,000 feet in the eastern Aleutians, associated around and just ahead of that area of low pressure. And as far as icing potential, there is some between 10,000 and 16,000 feet across portions of the southwest Kodiak Island and the Alaska Peninsula, and generally between 6,000 and 16,000 feet out over the Bering, with a few intrusions of that extending southward into the Aleutians. So at the jet stream level, we find with this big warm dome of high pressure, the high circulation is all the way up there, 30,000 feet over north central Alaska. Winds, though, relatively light for upper level winds, with southwest Alaska seeing the flow generally out of the southeast to south, 35 upwards to 55 knots. And as we drop down to the mid-levels, high pressure clearly shows up there around and just south of the Brooks Range, central Yukon Valley. And we see across the southwest and the Alaska Peninsula, winds are going to be out of the southeast-south at 35 to 40 knots as that low-pressure circulation there in the eastern Aleutians begins to lift northeastward. And then finally, as we get down to the lower levels, we have weak circulations of high pressure across much of the interior from south central up into the central Yukon Valley. And then we can see that area of low pressure there moving into the eastern Aleutians, and with strongest winds around that southeast to south winds of 40 to 55 knots out over the Alaska Peninsula. And then on the backside of that, winds turn around more to the northeast and north at 35 knots there across the central and eastern Aleutians. That low will continue to track northeastward. And then finally, taking a look at turbulence, there is the potential for some turbulence below 4,000 feet over portions of southwest Alaska, extending southwestward down the length of the Alaska Peninsula, and then below 3,000 feet in the eastern and central Aleutians, and that should do it for any lower level turbulence. And again, just keep in mind we have some beautiful weather here across the interior with visual flight rules this weekend. Still always check your conditions and the latest forecast before heading out. And as always, we wish you a very safe flight.
Ahoy, Cadets, and welcome to the Okeanos Explorer. I'm Debbie, and I'm an ocean explorer. I work for NOAA, which stands for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Together with many other people, I work on this ship, and we explore the deep sea. How do we do that? Let's go find out.
Octonauts, let's do this. Yow!
The pressure in the ocean is so great humans can't go there, so we send a special robot. Cadets, meet Deep Discoverer, our special robot for ocean exploration. And this is Chris. He works with Deep Discoverer. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Debbie.
Can you tell us about what Deep Discover does?
Sure. So this is Deep Discover, and today we're going to take Deep Discover up to 4 miles down to the ocean floor so you can see what Deep Discover sees.
And how do we do that?
We do that by using these powerful cameras and powerful lights.
That's neat. And what is that?
And this is our manipulator arm, and we use this arm to take biological and geological samples that we store up front in these boxes, and so that we can bring them to the surface so scientists can analyze them.
Wow, isn't that cool, AKwx? Wow! Now that we know more about the special robot that explores the seafloor, let's find out more about the ship. AKwx, let's do this. Now let's find out what we do with D2's video. Come along. This is the control room. A lot of things about D2 happen in here. Behind me you see the pilots. They steer D2 on the seafloor. And over here we have scientists. Hi Steve and Stacy.
Hi, this is Steve and I'm Stacy and we are marine biologists.
Can you tell us about the work you do here?
We actually look at the videos collected by the robots and we try to identify organisms along with other scientists on the shore.
What are you looking at right now?
We're actually looking at a sea star.
That's so awesome, thank you. Now let's look at how we make maps of the seafloor.
Excellent, Quasi. A good map helps you to get to places you've never been.
We also have a scientist on board who makes maps of the seafloor. Hi Derek.
Hi, Debbie.
Can you tell us about your work?
Sure. My job on the ship is to make maps of the ocean floor. We do this by sending sound from the bottom of the ship. It echoes off the seafloor and comes back to the ship. And then from that, we can make maps like this. So this is what it would look like if you were able to drain the water out of the ocean and actually see what the landscape looked like down there. We use these maps to give the vehicles a place to dive, and they explore further, just like octonauts do.
Status report, Dashi.
We're right on course, Captain.
So earlier we learned that D2 picks things up from the seafloor with his manipulator arm. Let's find out what we do with those samples. This is the wet lab, and Megan spends a lot of time here. Megan, can you tell us about your work?
I am the sample data manager, so when the ROV comes up, we go out and we collect the samples from the ROV and we bring them in here. And we try to record as much information about them as possible, everything from the details about what they look like to the environment conditions where they were found. How cold was it, for example? Then we come in and we take imagery using this microscope, and we take pictures using this camera as well. And then after we get all the pictures taken and we're ready, we prepare them for shipping to other scientists and museums so more science can be done, such as the squat lobster, this cup coral as well.
And what is that?
This is a piece of coral, or several pieces of coral, that we think might actually be a new species. So we are going to send it out for a comparison to existing species to see if we discovered something new.
Wow, you have a really cool job.
Thank you.
Fascinating. I've read about this, but I've never actually seen it.
An important part of how we explore the ocean is keeping in touch with scientists and AKwx on shore. Let's go see how we do that. Rosemary, could you tell the AKwx a little about what that dish does?
Sure. My name is Lieutenant Rosemary Abbott. I'm the operations officer aboard the Okeanos Explorer, and that is our VSAT. It stands for Very Small Aperture Terminal, and inside that satellite dome is a very powerful dish antenna that allows us to communicate with shore and share video in real time. The technology is called telepresence.
Wow, that is so interesting. Thank you, Rosemary. Now I'm getting really hungry. Let's go to the kitchen and talk about food. This is the ship's kitchen, also known as the galley. And this is Michael. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Debbie.
Michael is the chief steward on this ship, and he keeps 49 people fed for 3 weeks at a time. Michael, how do you do that?
With a lot of care and with the help of 3 crew members. I have myself, the chief steward, a chief cook, and a second cook. And we just do it with a lot of love and care and make sure that everybody's happy and well fed. We use up to 150 dozen eggs per trip, up to 100 gallons of milk, a lot of veggies and fruits, a lot of snacks. Everybody's very pleased with what we usually put out. We also make sure that we do it in a loving way, in a sanitary way, in a safe way that keeps everybody from getting any tummy aches.
I'm about to enter the ship's bridge. It's like the Octopod's headquarters.
Octonauts to the HQ.
Ahoy, Captain.
Ahoy, Debbie.
Hi, Eric.
Hello.
Octocadets, meet Eric Johnson, the commander of the ship. Eric, can you tell us about what you do up here?
Absolutely. Hello, Octa Cadets. My name's Eric Johnson. I'm an O-Corps officer, and I'm the captain of the Okeanos Explorer. Welcome to my office. This is where we drive the ship. This is where we control the operations. We run the propellers that are underneath us in the back to the wheel up here at the front, which is where we steer. It's a pretty cool job. It's very exciting, and it's pretty beautiful around here as well.
So, Octocadets, now you know a little bit about the ship and how we explore the deep sea. I hope you enjoyed our time together. I'll see you next time.
Debbie, safety first.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Well, welcome back. First by land, then air, now sea. Here's the marine weather forecast for the upcoming weekend. Today's sea ice edge continues to break up across the Bering. This is the initial breakup we are anticipating with the arrival of spring. And the polynias that have formed are not freezing back up for a change, since we had really cold weather here in March and early April. That is not the case, so we expect the ice to continue to gradually begin to break up now, and areas like Cook Inlet have little if any ice remaining, and any of the polynias that have formed have a tendency now to continue to open, especially along those shoreline areas. As far as how are things shaping up for the weekend, the southeast coast is going to enjoy some sunshine again. Northerly flow for the inner waterways upwards to 20 knots, Skagway down toward Juneau with waves running about 4 feet. And for the open water as you get out there toward the Gulf of Alaska, at least along the coast, we're looking at winds north to northeast around 10 to 15 knots and waves generally 5 or 6 feet. And then as we go into Sunday, look for northerly flow continuing in the inner waterways at upwards to about 15 knots, waves running a few feet. And the swells there along the coast generally 6 feet under north to northwest winds of 15 knots. Across south central areas, northwesterly flow will prevail on Saturday, generally around 10 knots. Prince William Sound, 2-footers, the mouth of Cook Inlet on up off the Kenai running 3 to 4 feet. And on Sunday, look for winds to have more of a westerly component in most areas, with the exception of down there the south end of the Kenai and off of Kodiak Island. Winds will be more easterly as an area of low pressure is just southwest there down along the Alaska Peninsula. The waves on Sunday will generally be just a couple of feet. Prince William Sound maybe 4 to 5 feet off the Kenai and up toward the mouth of Cook Inlet. And then looking at the Alaska Peninsula and Kodiak Island, you can see the influences of the approaching low on Saturday. Winds will be southeasterly, upwards to 30 knots on the Bering and side, on the Pacific side, the Bering side. Easterly winds of 25 to 30 knots. Waves will be running generally upwards to 7 feet there toward Cold Bay, 10 feet off of False Pass and Sand Point. And then going into Sunday, southeasterly winds on the Pacific and Gulf side of 20 to 30 knots, and waves generally 7 to 10 feet. The Bering side, easterly to 30 knots with waves 5 to 6 feet from Port Hayden southward to Cold Bay. And across the Aleutian chain, you see that area of low pressure passing through the eastern Aleutians. Ahead of it, southeasterly to easterly flow upwards to 30 and 35 knots, but turning around to the north and northwest on the backside. Waves on the Pacific side around or just over 10 feet. On the Bering side, at least in the eastern Aleutians, 7 to 10 feet, but generally around 4 to 6 feet and as you get toward the central western Aleutians. And on Sunday, look for winds to turn around more north to northwesterly of 20 to 30 knots. Waves on the Pacific side, 8 to near 10 feet, and generally anywhere from about 6 to 10 feet on the Bering side. And looking ahead to the west coast, open water, St. Paul, St. George, easterly 25-knot winds, 8-foot waves. Out over the ice, winds generally out of the northeast and east at around 15 to near 20 knots. And then on Sunday, still northeasterly component there, generally around 15 to 20 knots over the ice. And St. Paul and St. George is looking at northeasterly winds of 25 knots and waves of 8 feet. Along the Arctic coast on Saturday, westerly winds of 10 knots from Prudhoe Bay eastward, and then down along the northwest coast, we're looking for east to northeast winds generally around 10 knots. And on Sunday, more of an easterly flow, all areas 20 to 25 knots along the Arctic coast, and then extending down the west coast there all the way from Point Lay down toward Nome, generally in the 10 to 15 knot range. And a quick check of the weather maps. You can see tonight that weather, that low pressure system lifting northward and northeastward into the eastern Aleutians. Weak trough of low pressure lags across the Gulf of Alaska with high pressure still in place. On Saturday, high pressure begins to break down, but we're going to see fair skies across the interior, and that low pressure continuing to track through the eastern Aleutians and remaining in that location, producing rain across the southwest through Sunday. So that's the weather. Enjoy the weekend.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.